there is one stock that is about to skyrocket. The company is Tesla, ticker symbol TSL8. TSLA. You don't have to worry about the price to earnings or any sort of numbers for this company. Yes, if you want to hold this for years, go ahead, worry about the price to earnings. But right now, it's coming up to a favorable level where you can hop in. You can risk literally a few dollars on a $420-ish stock and look for a move of 20 at least, and more like 50 possibly dollars without getting stopped out. So is that gonna happen for sure? No, I'm not an oracle. I'm not Elon. I'm not whoever controls Elon in the simulation. He did get his $1 trillion pay package. He is putting out interviews like a madman with this two very different people. We'll just leave it at that. Check those out on YouTube if you haven't already. Why would I talk about YouTube interviews when we're talking about equity analysis? Well, because Tesla is a meme stock. It also happens to be a fundamentally revenue generating stock. So those are two very rare factors that lead to this moving up in ways that are uncorrelated with the market. So if you look on Friday, the market went down significantly. Tesla did not. It is at a breakout level. So we'll look at that right now. I'll also fill you in on half a dozen other stocks that I think are very set to go right now. Let's jump in right now. This is not financial advice.
This is Sam Putnam.
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 All right, so this is Tesla, and this is the level that we've been seeing if we zoom out all the way from the beginning of October. This thing has just broke down a little, reclaimed, and then big sell-off after the, what was this? This was delivery numbers. This was earnings. Oh, this was the pay package. Yeah, sell-off on the pay package. So sell the news is common for Tesla. Fortunately, this is not really a news event that this is moving on. This is the market moving up. You can see the market in the background. Someone asks, your questions do show up in this live recording right here, where my pointer is. This is the best software, Thinkorswim by Schwab. It was originally by TD Ameritrade. They got acquired by Schwab. They've been doing maintenance on the weekends, so it really doesn't work well on the weekends, but that shouldn't be a problem for you, although it's a serious problem for me recording these videos. So anyway, here's Tesla, and this is the few dollars you can risk. So here's, a high this day, but here's a level that's more favorable, 454. So you risk a couple dollars to make 20 or more. So could this gap up over the weekend, aka tomorrow when futures open? It certainly could, but it could also go sideways. There will be overnight trading. So yesterday's high, Friday's high is another level, 463. So just find a level, risk as little as possible, and there's definitely some selling in the market, and this is a great green day on a day when the market went down. So this is the market, and there's a number of stocks that have relative strength. Oh yeah, the video's live and the chat. So, be careful what you write, I guess, or say something constructive. So yeah, what you're trying to just do is, just think of yourself like a conductor, right? And all these stocks are your orchestra, and sometimes you just have to let a lot of them breathe, and they don't all need to, be active at all times. IBIT is doing nothing, right? You don't really need anything to do with Bitcoin right now. MicroStrategy, another example of a stock that you don't need to have anything to do with a stock right now. Like, it's great. They diluted a bunch of shareholders. That's, great. Not. And it might bounce, but it's definitely not bouncing. Everyone was stoked on this bounce. Circle, another crypto related IPO. It's kind of moving up. Galaxy kind of moving up, but pretty ugly day on Friday. So I think you have to look at the stocks that have relative strength. And I'm not going to hold you hostage here. I'll show you those stocks right now. PRAX, VRTX, BMY, CRH, NU, and GCT. And I know people like to hear the company names, even though you don't have to necessarily. So, yeah. So, look, if you have a question, let me know. Feedback and, kudos are great. But here's the deal, guys. I'm not a financial advisor, but if you need the company names, financial advisors would probably say, look at the company names, Praxis, Precision Medicines. I know companies like Renaissance Technologies, a $1 billion hedge fund. They don't necessarily look at the company's names because they're more numerically minded. So Vertex Pharmaceuticals, that's VRTX. Bristol Myers, you've heard of that, that's BMY. And CRH, that's a material stock. And then New Holdings, New, and GigaCloud, GCT. Okay, so those are the tickers. And I'm not saying that most financial advisors would, but some financial advisors might say to buy a lot of these. So here's the deal. Another company, Reddit, that people have been excited about. Here's the deal, guys. If you buy it after earnings, this stock can trend. And here's a great example. So look at the Q2 earnings reactions, okay? Find me one Q2 earnings reaction as good as this Reddit reaction. Okay, 30% gain, almost 3 weeks of consecutive green candles. I mean, these pullbacks were inside days, meaning the previous candle engulfed their highs and lows, which means if you're in these stocks, you can just hang out, your mobile portfolio or whatever goes down a little bit and it's fine. It doesn't even exceed the previous day's low. So it's essentially 3 weeks of green candles. So when people are talking about overvalued, like, I hear you, but we're not talking about holding these for years. So, you give Reddit another try and a little flag and you just sell when it sells off. So that's how this whole strategy works. And I'll look at the other stocks as well with you right now. Prax breaking out and forming another flag. So here's the opportunity here. I mean, it is a biotech, but risk a few dollars, look for $30. And here's the math. I know everyone wants, it would be great if everything was easy, right? And everything just worked out every time. But the truth is, you don't need that to be the case, right? So you see this notepad I got going on here, right? You can read this. Yeah, so here's the deal. Let's say 1 out of 5 of these stocks skyrocket. Okay, that's pretty good, right? 20%, right? And you might say, that's not good. It's like, well, actually it is, because my keyboard just jumps around a little lot. Because the one that does goes up 10 to 20%, right? So the 4 that don't lose, they lose 1 to 2%. Okay? So that means total loss 4 to 8%, right? So I'm just spelling this out like verbatim just to make sure you guys see what we're talking about here. So there are some cool biotechs, but they don't all have to work as long as you make sure that your losses are 1 to 2%. Okay? So in total, what do you gain, right? This keyboard is going to literally give me a aneurysm or something. What do you gain? You gain 4% loss and 10 to 20% gain. So you gain at least 2% and at most 18%, right? 10 minus 8 is 2, and 20 minus 4, oh, that's actually 16. So that's a lot, right? And let's say on average, you're up 4% a month, right? Sounds pretty terrible, right? Yeah, 12% gain. I don't know what you're saying for 12% gain, but yeah, 12% is in that 2 to 16% range. 12% is perfect. So, but I'm saying conservatively, forget 12%, say 4%, right? A third of 12%. Whoops, just tried to bold that, open a new window. So 4% a month is 60% a year compounded, right? Crazy if you can keep that up. So that's why this works. So 20% is what you kind of want for a win rate. I know that's crazy to say, but that's what we're all about. So there are some other biotechs. You got to be a little careful. This is like a double top short setup, right? It ran into this resistance level and it sold off with the market, really. It's just, you can't really buy something that's up 4 days in a row. But here's the rule with biotech. So PRAX is the one I'm looking at right now. So we go over there, we take a look at PRAX, $6 billion company. So it's not really about the market cap, because you can have inflated, quantum companies with no revenue that have $1 billion market caps. But this company has an $80 million loss. Okay, that sucks. And they have no revenue. Okay, so that's dangerous. But they do have a bunch of cash. So here's what I would say with PAX. Yeah, exactly. What are you doing to limit downside? Well, with PRAX, I wouldn't take more than a 5% position in this stock. Okay? So there are other stocks that you might feel more favorable. This ADMA actually looks a little better than this HRO, just because it doesn't have this double top scenario. And I mean, maybe you want to buy this over this shelf. But in general, I mean, you can't even be looking at these stocks. This is totally illiquid. You need stocks that are over $80 million to $100 million a day. And this stock trades, I don't know, like $20, $30 million a day. ADMA, maybe a little better, like $40 million a day. But these are too illiquid. So Prax is liquid, okay? And it's shown it can make big moves. How liquid is it? Well, it's a $300 stock. It trades like $1 million a day, or less. It's $100 million or more. So yeah, emojis don't show up. So just be aware, emojis don't show up in the chat on the screen. So I don't know what that means. Okay, but here's the deal with Prax. What you have to be careful of is, I just pulled this up and it doesn't have any revenue, right? Okay, even though it's a $6 billion company, like a $70, $80 million loss. So 5% position, because if this stock does get cut in half, like a Unicure, or like a Intella Therapeutics, this is the big move on Intella, this is the big move on Unicure. If you haven't seen those, pretty gnarly. If it goes from 270 to 150 or whatever, your 5% position is going to get cut in half to 2.5%. So, that's pretty bad. If you had a 500K portfolio and you put 5% in, you have 25K, you just lost 12.5 grand. So, you got to be careful of that. And that's not terrible, right? 50% times 5.5 is 2.5% of your total portfolio. But it's pretty bad. I mean, you can't do that over and over again. If you're trying to make 4% a month and you lose 2.5% on one stock. So anyway, that's Prax. And then Vertex, also, you know, a pharmaceutical biotech company, except this one has 3 billion. So with this one, yeah, I mean, you can play options in biotech. That is kind of an interesting nuances. You know, and buy options, we don't mean, I'm sure he doesn't mean sell them. I mean, buy calls, right? And then you just lose the call premium, whatever it costs to buy the options. It's called premium for some reason. But people who buy options, they usually lose money over the long term. So if you want to be super like nifty, yeah, you can buy options on these, or you can lower your position size. And then VRTX, you know, it has revenue, so your position size might be a 10% position in this. Here's a high to risk off of. It had relative strength the last few days, so I would take a look at that as well. Okay, and you know, we can jump into this if we need to, but really I'm just basing it off of how it's actually trading. Obviously, Bristol Myers Squibb has revenue, so you know that one you can feel totally safe in. Has a super clear level here at 52, so I would definitely keep an eye on that one. Another one is CRH. This is a material stock, so this is totally different. But here's what we got going on over here. We do have a little flag, and it looks pretty beautiful. So this red day is a little worrisome, although that was the 9th. And if we look at the market on the 9th, you know, well, the 8th was more of a red day, but the market was going down during that time, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. There is a high level over here, so this is definitely a flag. You know, if you want to buy it at 128 or 127, whatever, just pick a spot that makes sense when you look at a, you know, 30-day chart or something. I know this is painful looking at this chart intraday, but just bear with me here. You know, trust that it is helpful occasionally to look at a chart like this, especially if we can get rid of this news. That would be you know, make it more viewable, although it is nice to have the news there. There we go. All right, so yeah, with the options, we'll talk about the options in a second, but yeah, from this open is a good spot, or from this close is a good spot. So 127, 126, something like that. Yeah, cheap out of the money options are viable, but keep in mind that's also sort of what a lot of people gamble on. So it also makes them less viable because they get more expensive. But occasionally, yes, that's a way to do it. Weekly options that are rolled over each week. Again, the Tesla bull thesis is simply that the chart is setting up and there's no major news. And I already mentioned this, but it's sold into the last two pieces of major news, the robotaxi it wasn't even robotaxi. It was vehicle deliveries and then Tesla's pay package. Robotaxi did come out in Austin, and there are poor Europe delivery numbers, but Tesla's sort of shaken off that news and come back up. So that's what's going on with Tesla. And then as far as new, this is a Brazilian and Mexican sort of bank situation. I think this company might not make revenue, but they probably have a lot of money going through their bank accounts. So gross merchandise volume is probably pretty high for this company. Yeah, ChatGPT is just a disaster. You have to like press retry 7 times. God dang, dude. Has anyone tried to use ChatGPT? Like, new is the company, the ticker. anyway, we're going to try that again. So they had $4 billion of revenue. Okay, new holdings. So we don't have to worry about that one. That's I don't know that they're profitable. They had a gross profit up 30% year over year. So I guess Buffett owned new, apparently. That's good. Buffett owns United Healthcare as well. That one's been going up until it went down. So I don't like to buy these bottom bouncer stocks. They seem to just get wrecked on like, it didn't even get above the 200-day moving average. Yeah, Gemini's been doing well. I don't know about it for financial research. I've been having trouble finding tickers and stuff with it. But new seems to be doing well. It's forming this sort of left side peak here that it undercut and came up higher. Google stock was doing well as well, pulling back a little bit, digesting, so I probably can't jump in Google right now. But here's new. I think it's super buyable. If we look at an intradaily chart, you could buy this over maybe yesterday's high or the day prior's close. But the point is you're risking very little. Yeah, I don't like United Healthcare for sure. But you're risking literally like 25 cents to make $2.50. So it's a plenty liquid enough stock too. We're talking $200 million a day. So that's new. And the last stock I want to keep on your radar before we just jump into like, stock onslaught of just random scanning of the big ones is GigaCloud. This Hong Kong country of origin is a little, eyebrow raising. But yeah, GCT, they're a software stock, GigaCloud. And yeah, it looks like Frog is another company that just did well. So they have earnings. GigaCloud has earnings. And they have some profit, aka net income. That's not actually profit, but whatever, it's close enough. No debt is really good too. For our purposes, it's close enough. It's not actually close enough. But anyway, here's the company shaping up. It's a ton of companies without free cash flow that are exploding to the upside. So we can't be caught up too much in whether they actually are super cash floated or anything boomer like that. GCT is strong on a day the market was down. So that's why it's on radar. And then over this high is interesting, this 40. This is back from like November 27th. So sometimes these are just misprints. I would say this is probably a better buy, right where it's near actually. So if it gaps up, or if it just goes sideways and then moves up. LFCF. I don't know what L is, but free cash flow. Well, we can check. But yeah, if it has a gap up above this high, you can risk like 25 cents on this company. Yeah, this is the high. So that would be great. Don't worry about this print. Sometimes this Thinkorswim chart is a little fruity. The one-day chart tells the story, though. We'll make it less, sort of fisheye. Here we go. So 25 cents, risk 40.60, buy at like 40.90 or something, and look for a move up. So even better would be one more tight day, or down and then up. But yeah. I mean, the ChatGPT will tell us if GCT has free cash flow. But you can't just be buying only companies with free cash flow. 200 million of free cash flow. So 77 for the quarter. So that's, I don't know if that's a lot or what, for how much revenue they have. But it's enough to buy it without worrying about it. Oh, levered cash flow? Well, they don't have debt, so I don't know if that's a thing. They're going to be able to tell us what that even means if they're debtless. But we can ask. Okay, so, but before we go into too much extravagances and indulgences. 140 million, so slightly less than 180. Yeah, it seems like it's just a debt issue, but I could be wrong. So anyway, so these are the 6 stocks. So if you're still watching, Prax, PRAX, Vertex Pharmaceuticals, VRTX, Bristol Myers, BMY, CRH, ticker symbol CRH, and NEW, ticker symbol NEW, and of course, this one we're just talking about, GigaCloud, GCT. Tesla, though, is the big dog. Could Tesla fail? It could, okay, but we just looked at our little note card here, right? It pretty clearly states that 20% of these can work, and you can make 60% a year compounded, right? So you can do your own math, but yeah, so GCT has levered free cash flow without any debt somehow. So that's great. But let's just look at all these stocks in entirety. So NVIDIA is down, right? The big dogs are down. It makes sense. The market was down. Do a little like whirlwind tour here. The dollar did nothing, but it was down the last couple of days. Whatever. Who cares about the dollar, right? Gold, though, kind of held, which is impressive when the market went down. We'll see what happens on 6 p.m. tomorrow when futures open. Oil's been down a little bit, continuing down. Natural gas is finally bottoming after a pretty rough few days. Well, it's actually not bottoming at all, but maybe it will. We'll see. Pharmaceuticals, a little pump on that. Healthcare as well, pumping a little bit. Banks, I think, doing okay. Yeah, banks are up. Utilities kind of bottoming. Energy was doing not so hot, but maybe it'll come up again. And yeah, I mean, we could keep going around the horn, but industrial's down a little bit. I don't even know what half of these other ETFs really mean. I guess that's like chemicals and stuff like that. So consumer staples is like, I mean, you tell me. Consumer, like, what even is consumer staples? Like bread and stuff? Anyway, what we want to be looking at is individual stocks ranked by market cap, because that's what, the world looks at, or whatever. They compose most of the, yeah, exactly. Mag 7's down, and the equal weighted RSP is up, right? So that's actually consumer staples related, which is that these are like the companies that everyone's like, hey, eggs cost more and everything sucks. And it's like, well, yeah, because the economy, when it's equal weighted, hasn't done anything for 6 months. Until now, it's up, which is kind of remarkable. What's composing this? I don't know exactly if this makes sense, but I guess Mag 7 composing 30 to 40% of the SPY, being down. I mean, it's down a little bit recently. So this was the 4th. So if we look at RSP on the 4th, this was already up significantly. So I don't have like a super intelligent reason why this is up so much, except to say the whole market went up recently. And this is good. As long as this continues, this is really good. When it just goes sideways, it's basically like indicating that we're already in a recession, which sucks. Keep buying stuff, which is obviously not going to work on a Saturday. Lulu, that's a nice pop for sure. We're still on the daily. I do like to look at this 24-hour chart because it has overnight activity. It connects all the candles as well, which is reality. Like this popped in after hours. Nice close. So for these, if you can buy it and risk 206, basically this close, it's almost easier just to look over here. Yeah, you risk 205, 206. I don't know why. Oh yeah, this is a 24-hour candle, so it'll actually show 205 as the close, but all right, I don't want to make this all like unnecessarily in the weeds, but we'll keep the 24-hour candles. Just buy over this level, 206, and you could get a move up to 226 if you want on that. And the reason Lulu is interesting, I hadn't been noticing it, but obviously, you just mentioned it. All the retail stocks are doing well, right? Which is a surprise because everyone hates retail. Because, people like to just stare at videos on their phones rather than go shop. But Urban's up. Urban Outfitters, AEO, A&F, Kohl's, they're all doing well. So Lulu is definitely in that bucket. So yeah, it's interesting. It's not a flag one. It's not one I had on my watch list, but I'd definitely take a look at that. All right, here's that Google move. This is what I'm talking about, how it's digesting. It's actually kind of healthy that it came down a little bit. So this is good. If this can kind of hold and go sideways, that could be good, but I wouldn't want to touch it right now, personally. Broadcom just got bombed. Yeah. Don't like the looks of that at all. So volume is all over the chart. I gotta get rid of this. There we go. Yeah, I don't want to touch the downwards earnings reaction because we saw what happened with Meta. This is horrible. And then this software stock, Snowflake, went down as well. The only software stock that was interesting that I mentioned recently is Service Titan. Apparently, they have this old, adorable CEO, according to Chamath. But anyway, that was pretty ugly on Friday, so I would ignore that. But back to a market cap weighted. I gotta stop clicking buy on here. Market cap weighted list. AV goes a no. Okay. Tesla's a yes, in my opinion. Eli Lilly. Which one's consolidating? Tesla. Google. Lilly is interesting. It had some buying recently, so the whole pharmaceuticals are up. PPH we already looked at, but if we look at the friends, Novo Nordisk, Pfizer, Merck, they're doing fine right now. Oh yeah, Meta sort of consolidating. If you can buy a dip, that's great, but just keep in mind, it's great you bought it down there, but people bought here and we're saying oh, I bought the dip, and then they lose 10%, and then they buy again, and they're it's consolidating, or whatever they say. It already bought them because it's a hammer candle, it's going up, and then they lose another 10%, and then they buy it, and then they average down. It's really dangerous unless you're super risk aware. So just keep that in mind, I guess. But yeah, Lilly is definitely in the category of big pharma that's doing well. It only moves 3% a day, but if it can maybe build out a little bit, have a down day or something. I don't really want to buy something that has 3 days in a row, even though it can trend. But this trend is after earnings, so that's a little different. God, I'm not even going to look at some of these financial stocks because this software is so horrible. It has all these misprints. But don't worry, I wouldn't normally talk about JPM anyway. It only moves 1% a day, 2% a day, even though this is wrong because it's using these misprints. So Lilly, if it does have fundamental news, that's a big deal. Weight loss is massive, semaglutide, GPLs. And if they beat the trials, great thing with Lilly is any of these big pharma stocks is if they have a failed trial, they have probably dozens, if not hundreds of stocks. Not stocks. Well, yeah, some of their partners are stocks, but trials going on at any one time, so they're not going to crater like Unicure or Intella will. But that's good to have a fundamental reason for Lilly to go up. Gives a little more safety. Palantir's just going sideways. This looks like trash, even though it's a story stock. PGY kind of looks ugly to me. There might be a fundamental reason, but I don't like that. It just went below the 200-day moving average too. So that could be more selling pressure. AbbVie, Selling off here. That's a big company you don't need to worry about. Baba, you don't need to worry about that. China stocks in general. I mean, I know Kathy Wood bought Baidu or whatever, or her henchman did, but it hasn't been like, it's pretty much equal to where she bought it. I think she has some average over here. Maybe she bought Baba. I think she bought Baba too. This earnings reaction is okay on Baidu, but Friday didn't help. So if it can build out a little flag, actually, Baidu is definitely interesting. I get a little confused with Baba. Baidu definitely looks better than Baba by a mile. So keep that in mind. AMD was kind of giving the impression it might make a move and then just completely collapse. So you got to take that off radar. GE's holding up, but it moves too slow. Again, these banks are all messed up on Thinkorswim. So thanks Schwab for that. IBM is holding up, but it never really had a move. Sort of just, I guess, was obvious that this sort of slingshot reaction wouldn't do anything major in hindsight, given it's IBM and it moved 2%, but it definitely duked out a lot of people, including me. I was thinking it was interesting for a while. Caterpillar coming back to a level here that is interesting, but not a buy right now. Memory names, not a buy right now, selling off a little bit. SanDisk as well in that bucket. We can ignore finance names again. Merck looking exactly like Lilly. So yeah, PGY, yeah, if it does have a fundamental reason in the long term, that's great. But yeah, in terms of investing for the next month to 3 months, aka, that's my sly way of saying trading. Yeah, this is not going to work for you. But if you know what you're doing, that's a totally different story long term. Merck doing the same thing as Eli Lilly. Salesforce, CRM holding in there, which is impressive for the software stocks. It's definitely had some failed breakouts, so there's some resistance up here that needs to get through, or at least have a day that doesn't look like... Actually, I mean, these days are so tight, you could buy it. It's kind of wedging, I don't know. RTX kind of doing something similar. That's too many green days in a row. App 11, big down day. That thing can really trend, but Shopify is holding up. Let's see if we can get a little tighter in that channel. AMAT, that's not interesting. These semi names are not interesting. Qualcomm's in that bucket as well. GEV, after that huge base breakout, coming back on the SPY sell-off. No surprise there. Yeah, some lending names. Upstart, kind of wedging up. I guess that's not a lot of love for Upstart. I don't know if I would want to buy anything wedging up like that. SoFi is maybe more interesting on like a weekly basis, with a higher love there, higher low. I don't love these at all, to be honest. Adobe, yeah, the earnings is solid. It's just slow. It's just a slow moving, choppy sort of POS, and it's just been going down forever. So could be a change of character if you really get creative with like a line you draw, but I don't know if you want to throw your weight into Adobe. Unless you're very careful with your risk and buy, $2 risk or something like that on a $300 stock. PayPal in that bucket as well. It could be bottoming, but there's definitely no energy there. That's not something I would want to buy. Yeah, App was the story of the century. Even if you bought it in the previous run, that was a crazy run too. But this is a whole nother animal up here now. But in terms of other big stocks, Intel had a nice little boost, but now it's selling off. Not too surprising here. I mean, this whole move was not really fundamentally based as far as I can tell. Amgen sold off as well, significantly, even as pharmas and healthcare just went up. We just talked about that. But this just looks like it's just choppy and, you know, it goes to show like some of these big biotech company wedges are just so difficult to play. So some people just don't invest, aka trade biotech at all. BKNG, I don't even know what that is, but it actually looks okay. I don't know why it's a $5,000 stock. Could probably just ignore that. I haven't seen it pop up on this scan. I had to use the trading view scan to get all these because Thinkorswim has maintenance. Boeing holding in there, but I don't really like that too much right now. This day it has to get over, which we can see if that's reality or not. No, it's not. It's just a misprint. Oh yeah, the genetics names or whatever. I don't know what gene. Oh, GeneDx is the name. WGS just had a big move, right? So it's sort of been chilling for a bit. If this went like this for like 3 months and then started to move up, it'd be interesting, but I don't think it's gone sideways enough. I mean, maybe there's a left side peak here, but it would need to pull like a GEV sort of base to get interesting. Talk about a failure on APH. ANET semis are down a little bit. KLAC, also a semi name that's not so momentum filled. Capital One, these just move too slowly. I never even look at these stocks. These big finance company stocks, even though this is not a finance one really, it's like a fintech or whatever. Gilead is just moves too slowly. You can ignore that. Lowe's, move that. Ignore that. ADI. Some of these slow moving earnings reactions were just awesome. I mean, this is only 15%, but you literally risk 1% to make 15 in a couple weeks. It's pretty awesome. It's too late now, but John Deere is too slow right now. I was actually considering talking about this one. I didn't want to because it's down 4 days in a row, so this can just be a falling knife, but this is a favorable level. If you are the dip buying type, this might work for you with a tight stop. CrowdStrike's ugly. KKR, private equity company, pulling back some. ConocoPhillips doing the same thing as Exxon and Chevron, I gotta assume. Don't need to worry about that. There's Vertex that we talked about. HCA is kind of interesting too. Just reclaiming right away, but I also don't know why it sold off so significantly. So for that reason, I was kind of not too interested in it. Constellation Energy has just been choppy as heck. So this is like the Capital One bucket, Interactive Brokers. I never really look at that. Hood breakout failed for sure. It's kind of tough because it was just in like no man's land here. Yeah, I personally, if I see great earnings and guidance, but the stock fails, I do not buy. You know, I want to see, even if the earnings and guidance aren't good, but the stock's holding, that means the reaction's good. But sometimes great earnings and guidance can have, you know, could be sell the news like Palantir was in Q3. I think Nvidia too sold off, right? After it initially went up. So gold stocks are okay here, but if you aren't in yet, I don't know that you want to get in right now. There's Bristol Myers, that's on watch for sure. And CVS is just too slow moving. CVS did have a nice breakout here after a while. Where was that? Kind of looked like it was going to break out here. This doesn't look like much, but it really isn't much. It's like 8%. So BMNR is just an Ethereum leverage play on Ethereum. Like, I don't know. Do you want to own Ethereum right now? I don't want to own Ethereum right now. But in time, these crypto names will get interesting again. I just don't think it's right now. So yeah. McKesson kind of holding up. I don't know how interesting that is. Carvana, crazy run. This stock is known for just making insane moves, but looks like that's going to come back a little bit. DoorDash, kind of setting up. A lot of these companies are having dips that are, this is almost in like the quantum rare earths category, even though they make a ton of money. They don't have profit necessarily, but you know, close enough. Cadence selling off, don't worry about that. Dell, don't want that. Apollo, don't want that. There's CRH, that flag looks good, we talked about that. There's new, that looks interesting, we talked about that. This Marriott bounce was crazy awesome off a moving average, but now it's in no man's land. HWM now, Airbnb now, just getting stuffed. And Regeneron looking okay, but just a slow mover. EMR looks horrible. Cruisers, big jump up, but no. How about this Corning run? Pretty crazy. Can't buy it now. Just too choppy. And there's that snowflake reaction. So that's probably enough. Warner Brothers, Netflix, momentum from that potential merger. If you like this live recording, you're going to be seeing it recorded. You can see, you can ask questions and I answer some of them. And I actually put the comments up on the screen in most cases. I don't have them up on this close up, but last question, do you see Bitcoin or strategy rallying in the new year after the rate cut? That's like super tough. Sorry to be facetious or whatever. I don't know that the rate cut affects crypto in any way that doesn't affect the market. So if the market's going to go up, crypto's going to go up. But I wouldn't try to find a bottom in Bitcoin right now, personally. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button, hit that, and you'll get a free course on how to find the next NVIDIA without gambling on startups. And if you want to ask as many questions as you want, head over to stockscommunity.com. You can try that out for $25 for 7 days, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.